The readings for Friday, July 7th. The epistle reading is from St. Paul's letter to the Galatians, chapter 3, verses 23 through 29, and chapter 4, verses 1 through 5. But before faith came, we were kept under guard by the law, kept for the faith which would afterward be revealed. Therefore, the law was our tutor to bring us to Christ, that we might be justified by faith. But after faith has come, we are no longer under a tutor. For you are all sons of God, through faith in Christ Jesus. For as many of you as were baptized into Christ have put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male nor female. For you are all one in Christ Jesus. And if you are Christ's, then you are Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise. Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, does not differ at all from a slave, though he is a master of all, but is under guardians and stewards until the time appointed by the Father. Even so we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who are under the law, that we might receive the adoption as sons. All right. Some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. For chapter 3, verses 22 through 25, so just one verse earlier than where we started reading, it says that faith in, as noted in verse 22, should be translated faith of. Two faiths are cooperating. First and foremost, Christ's faith. Secondarily, the faith of those who believe. While Old Testament people had faith, they could not participate in Christ's faith, for Christ had not yet come. For chapter 3, verses 26 and 27, Paul directly relates saving faith in verse 26 and being baptized, connecting them as the most intimate of friends. Verse 27 is the ancient hymn, perhaps already being sung at Christian baptisms during the procession of the newly regenerated into the assembly, and sung at every Orthodox baptismal service to this day. For verses 28 and 29, we share one human nature in Christ. Therefore, valuing people based on opinions and ethnicity, as noted by the phrase neither Jew nor Greek, pride and social status, as noted by the phrase neither slave nor free, or gender, as noted by the phrase neither male nor female, has no place in the church. So let me read that again without the references. We share one human nature in Christ. Therefore, valuing people based on opinions and ethnicity, pride and social status, or gender has no place in the church. All are one in nature, and so all are equal in dignity. For chapter 4, verses 1 and 2, child refers not to age but to understanding. Guardians and stewards provide the special discipline and protection required for growth. Slave refers to one under the rule of a taskmaster, in this case, the law. For chapter 4, verse 3, the elements of the world are the philosophies and traditions developed by humanity without regard to God, as noted in Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. For chapter 4, verses 4 and 5, Son refers to Christ as God by nature. God, then, is born of a woman, and so Mary is rightly called the Mother of God, or Theotokos. Since Jesus is born under the law, he can redeem those under the law. Jesus fulfilled the law as an infant by being circumcised on the 8th day and being presented in the temple 40 days after his birth. Both of these events are remembered in the liturgical cycle of the Orthodox Church. Why does God redeem those who are under the law? To fulfill his promise to Abraham. God owes no one anything. He certainly does not owe us salvation. Whereas the Son is God by nature, we become sons of God by adoption. We cannot become members of the Godhead by nature because we are human by nature. But we do become members of his family by grace. In adoption, we become everything God is, except that we do not share his nature. Because we are given new life, adoption is also called a new birth, or being born again. The Gospel reading is from the book of Mark, chapter 5, verses 24 through 34. So Jesus went with him, and a great multitude followed him and thronged him. Now a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, "If only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well." Immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that power had gone out from him, turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" But his disciples said to him, "You see the multitude thronging you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see her who had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction." All right, some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So for verses 21 through 34, just a handful of verses before where we started reading here today, but encompassing our whole reading, it just says to see the footnotes at Matthew chapter 9, verses 18 through 26. And for verses 25 through 29, a spiritual interpretation of this encounter given by the Fathers is that this woman symbolizes human nature in general. Humanity is in constant suffering and subject to death, symbolized by the flow of blood. The physicians who could not cure her stand for the various religions of the world, as well as the Old Testament law, which were unable to grant life to humanity. Only through Christ are we freed from suffering and bondage to sin. All right, everybody, that's it for today. Happy Friday. Hope you guys have a blessed one. Yeah, I don't got anything else to add. Just have a good day. Cruise into this weekend on a nice pious note. And please keep me a sinner in your daily prayers. It would be very appreciated. Thank you very much. Take care.